when we are doing the implementation for AI. I think today the fact one of the guests just told me that 18% of all Fortune 500 companies' budgets, IT budgets, are now deployed on AI. 18%. So, doesn't it make sense that some of it should be put for tools like yours?
Yeah, I think 100%, but I think the current global revenue in AI is more. So over 50% of global revenue in AI is product services.
Services.
What this tells us? Tells us that productization in AI is still very early. So once we get more towards productization, we need to have a sort of regulation and kind of a, let's say, a golden rule. And that's missing. Even in the US, there are states, they're having their own rules. You have a HIPAA compliance, you have CCPA, GDPR, you have the Biden Act, now you have the European Union Act. So for me, it's the Wild Wild West, saying again. And I think we should regulate it in a sort of way, but we should not make it forbidden. We should enable actually the range public and the companies to use it the right way, but to have a rule set in terms of testing, shadow AI, governance, all the pieces which fill into AI security. It's not that easy, right?
Yeah.
So that the companies can basically run an audit, specifically companies in the regulated industry.
Christian, are you concerned that, let's say, on one side, some of these large language models could come up with a tool that competes with you, or some of the big guys like Palo Alto or others could come up with a tool like you? You might get squeezed on either side?
No, never. I think good question, because I was in the cloud security space before, working with Zscaler. I've been many times in competitive situations with Microsoft and similars. Of course, I'm not there to compare myself now to Zscaler. I'm very proud of my past, but I'm saying a good CISO should have always a look and a view for a third-party tool in order to protect his very sensitive applications. And in this case, it's AI. So you need to have a third-party opinion or an objective opinion. Why would you buy infrastructure and security 100% from the same provider? It doesn't make sense to me, right? I want to have an unbiased, objective opinion. And that's exactly what happened in the cloud security space. I don't know much companies which bought actually a Microsoft VPN. I'm not saying anything against Microsoft. I'm just saying the market is so wide, and currently in the LLM space, it's not a winner-takes-it-all market. So there will be distributed models. So, and why would you just then play one card on ChatGPT, securing ChatGPT, or Azure-based application? Because you would use llamas, you would use any other things, and open source models. So that's why I think having a third-party tool set and partners can help you mitigate the risk actually there.
Well, that's a good point. Christian, now the big hot thing right now is agents or agentic AI, so to speak. And you could have same vulnerabilities in agents too. Does your product help with agents, or are you thinking about that? Can you tell our audience a little bit about that?
We are very much thinking about agentic security, because this is the future, as you say, but it's very early in the days. What I can say is that we already set up our platform for customization. So if you are a bank, a specific bank, for example, and you have your own test cases so far in red teaming or offensive security, you can come to our platform and basically set the boundaries yourself. You can say, okay, those are my test cases. Those are the questions with the conversation I shouldn't be asking, shouldn't be answering. Those are actually the integrations. I care too much about data poisoning stuff. You can really set the boundaries yourself and tick the boxes and create your own. So we're thinking very much towards agentization and customization, of course.
Now, you know, Salesforce announced agents, Microsoft, because they have this big rivalry. Do you have any plans of working with them, or you're going to be an independent tool kind of that sits there for the age protection against those agents?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I cannot reveal anything of the roadmap, but agentic
of course.
protecting agents is the future. If you don't like, and that's what I'm saying, maybe to answering your question in detail is, I think our platform will change at a dramatic pace if you want to play with the best ones in the market. So if you stick to one platform, it's not the commodity market we used to have before 10 plus years. I think right now you need to be a fast change, monitoring, right? Assessing guardrails, aggression limit, being ahead of the curve in terms of the newest attacks, being able to get into the infrastructure over agentic AI. So it's 100%. I agree with you, and you should be always like. That's why the core of the business is the AI red team and the research, right?
Yeah.
That's the USP. Even if you ask me, the head start, been doing this since 2 years, and the USP with the red team actually.
Final question for you. Do you have your own IP? Is there intellectual property that you own within the organization with Splix does? That's your own proprietary?
100%. We have the Splix AI platform. The IP is fully in the United States. I mean, all clear.
Christian, final words for our audience, some actionable items that you would like to tell them about not just your product, but just about the industry and what you see coming up.
Yeah, just maybe my message is that anyone who's a practitioner in that space shouldn't be worrying too much about compliance and governance. I personally think the piece of shadow AI internally saving AI applications, I think we got there already, as well as the AI firewall part, because you can implement any AI firewall. The problem is over-aggression. So it can maybe disclose or non-disclose any key functionalities of your chatbot or application if you don't do the testing before. And I'm not thinking only about Splix AI, it can be manually even in your red team, right? But the testing piece of domain-specific applications, not models itself, because the domain-specific means you need to talk in the language of the chatbot, and the industry, in the vertical, is the hardest part of this business because it's evolving so fast. And I think this should be the piece you should care most about. And the other one, things come easier. Yeah.
Well, Christian, thank you so much for taking the time. Your insight into making sure that we are careful when we implement some of these LLMs and maybe even in the future these agents. We need to make sure that we are well protected because there could be all kinds of awareness and all kinds of openings and vulnerabilities that exist. And thank you for that insight. And to our audience, I hope you learned a lot from what Christian had to say. And thanks for listening, and hopefully continue tuning in. Thank you so much, Christian.
Thank you, Sanjay, and see you soon in Washington, D.C.
See you. Thank you, Christian.